Die Vogsfalterov. Hello and welcome. I'm going to take you through some new topic here for second year CSP. We're working off Strand 2 at the moment, and we had already done a topic called sustainable living. And remember, last class before Christmas, we were watching The Inconvenient Truth sequel, which is teaching us all about climate change. Yeah, which is a massive component of this strand on sustainable living. Because with climate change, if we don't reduce, reuse, recycle, and live sustainably, well, the planet could be turned inside out and upside down with all sorts of problems, including weather, storms, water surges, temperatures, forest fires, and lots of other things. So, global citizenship and with a focus on development, okay? So, the learning objectives or outcomes and intentions are to understand more about development, ever-changing worlds, how's the world changing, social networking, local developments, local government and local authorities, European Union planning and development, and then under development, global development and the global goals agreement. And on that global goals, we're going to be dealing with a separate PowerPoint after this on the sustainable development goals, which are very, very important. And in the developing world, and then organizations that help the world develop. Think of the EU and the United Nations as well there. Okay, so moving on, we'll put this on current slide, make it a bit bigger. Right, so define development. So when inventions change and improve people's lives, it's called developments. Some people argue that development can be a bad thing and we should live more like we did in the past. In other words, in tune with nature and living out in nature with just the basics and a simple life. Yeah. Okay, so make time for yourself, I suppose is the argument for a simple life. It is sweet, simple things of life which are the real ones after all. So that's just certain people's opinions on that. Yeah. Okay, so 5 big developments that have happened in the world. You've had the telephone that was developed in the United States of America in 1876. You had also the first personal computer was developed in the United States of America in 1975. Shorthand writing in soda water was developed in Ireland, believe it or not. Outdoor tennis was developed in Great Britain in 1351. The airplane was made in the United States of America in 1903. The motor car was developed in Germany in 1885. And think now of the massive big car companies are, like Mercedes, Volkswagen, Skoda, well, that comes under Volkswagen, but they're all still major brands. And Germany is still a huge seller of cars even to this day. You also have the Japanese with Toyota, and you also have the Americans with Chevrolet, etc. Okay, but Volkswagen is one of the biggest. So radio in Italy was developed in Italy in 1895. So some interesting facts there on developments. There's been loads of them. That's just a selection of them on how the world has developed. Okay, so here's a few more. The steam engine was developed in 1712. Printing press, compass, etc. Paper, telephone, light bulb in 1878. First light bulb. Right, interesting. And okay, the World Wide Web then was 1990. Okay, so the internet started then. So no, it hasn't been around forever. It's only around since 1990, right? Thank God, some people would say. Okay, moving on. So, types of development. You've got local development, you've got national development. Local is just like Fingal County Council will develop things locally around Fingal, yeah. And then you've got national development, which means the the government and the country as a whole, developments. You might have the Lewis as a development in Dublin, and motorways maybe connecting Dublin to Cork, etc. All the ends and the M50, etc. All national developments. Then you've got European developments, and it could be developments on, say, transport. There was a link made between England, for example, and France to be able to transport goods more easily. Of course, that's a problem now because of Brexit and there's pile-ups at the borders. And so we've now created an option for our delivery men to go to Rossel Airport. There's big ships that take some of our trucks down across to France, I believe. So anyway, it's different developments that happen on a European level as well. So the global development then, different global developments happen around the world to try and develop underdeveloped countries and developing countries. It's cultural development, so we move with the times, and but we try and keep our cultures as well. Sustainable then, so there's been massive developments in terms of sustainable practices such as solar energies and wind and turbines, and just organizations that are helping people to live more sustainable lives, generally speaking, and to be able to sustain biodiversity in nature and all of that too. Okay, remember, for questions, usually allow you to ask questions at the end of slides in class, but since we're online, you could put questions in the comments or send me a private message if you don't understand something or if something's confusing for you. Please do ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I have a lot of students. I have about 400 students, given that I teach all of CSP in first year and second year, just once a week. So I have many, many different classes. But having said that, I do try and get back to everyone as soon as I can. Okay, so how towns and cities have developed or are changing. So in the long time ago, and again, some parts of the world are underdeveloped and they might still not be too far away from the look of the image on the left. And then we look at an image on the right. It looks like somewhere like Shanghai or New York City or it could be Dubai, or really developed with huge big office towers. It could be accommodation either. So that's the way things have gone. That's the way they were. Whether it's good or bad is up to your own philosophy, I suppose, and ideas. So that was Dublin, Dame Street there, in our capital city in Dublin. There's Trinity College Dublin, and there's a view from the opposite direction, I believe. And you see now there's a Lewis after being developed, and the streets have all been developed, different shops have been added, etc., etc. So there's an example of how things have developed as well. So development in Dublin City. Communications and social media. So another big development has been our use and the use of social media. You might have seen Twitter has stopped Donald Trump from being allowed use its social media services to promote what they consider hate speech, depending on what side of the argument or your own beliefs. But yeah, so he's been banned from that. And there's also Facebook, Skype, and it's made communication a lot easier. For example, Trump was able to get a big audience and his message directly to people using his Twitter account. Not anymore. But yeah, he built a lot of his voters through that means. So beware of predators online and never give any personal details out. And also goes to say for bank details, etc. as well. There's people phishing online and they're trying to look for details all the time to try and use them against you. So just be aware of that. And then also be aware of viruses. Most of your Windows software, if it's updated properly, will have its own fireware and virus protection. And then other people buy antivirus software patches to expand on that. Yeah. Okay. So planning and development. Fingal County Council appeals to the on board Planala to say how towns and areas can be developed. So Fingal County Council members are local authority that helps development in Fingal including Rush, Balbriggan, etc. So if you want to say build traffic light, if you want to build say lighting along a pathway, it's Fingal Council you'd go to get it done. Potholes needing to be filled, but even more than that, you know, planning for buildings on the main streets and all around Fingal, very important. They have a very important involvement in that. To know more about Fingal County Council, our county council, go to fingalcoco.ie and you'll see exactly what it's all about there as well. And you can also leave suggestions for what you think should happen in your community, what you think they should develop and rush. So it'd be interesting to go on to that and give them some ideas from, you can be any age to do that. And they take people's opinions on board. So how do you decide between putting a chippers into Rush, for example, a medical centre, more green spaces or apartment blocks or more housing developments? How do you decide? Who decides? Well, they decide in Fingal County Council, but also the government gets involved at a higher level, and on board Planala gets involved in a higher level before things are signed off. So 1898, there was a local government act that's decided basically that we'd have these things called county councils. Sorry. So our one's called Fingal County Council. You also have a Dublin City Council. That's for Dublin City, yeah. You have boroughs then, there's one in Tipperary, and you have 75 town councils. They'd be just for little towns around Ireland, right? It wouldn't need as big of an operation. They look after planning, developments, parking, housing, where it should go and what way and what type, sewage, roads, lighting, government buildings, environmental issues, and car tax. Well, car tax maybe that's gone more centralised now. Okay, county councillors and town councillors are elected by people who run these councils. So often you get elections, you'll see them up in posters, and people run to want to be a county councillor and a town councillor. In other words, they'll want to be someone who's working in those offices in Fingal County Council. Again, you've got the city councils, and then you've got the county managers. They're employed by the government. So some of it's voluntary in those county councils, but the manager in Dublin City Council and in say Fingal County Council, they would be paid. Okay, so moving on. European Union, that U stands for Union, development in Ireland. So what have they done? They've developed loads of big roads and gave loads of funding for education and roads, and even the bank bailouts there, and also COVID payments are coming from Europe as well, zero interest rate. So they've done a lot to help develop Ireland, actually, the European Union. So the summit is a meeting between the heads of government, so in other words, the heads of Ireland and England or France, whatever, when they all meet together. England not at the moment because of Brexit, so they pulled out of the European Union. So it provides money for community development projects and area partnerships. So the European Union gives Ireland money for projects that they can give out to people to set up in their local areas. So they helped fund major road networks in Ireland, like the M3s and the M50, etc., and other infrastructures like bridges and sluices and all sorts. So they'll have a hand in you'll see their name printed or their posters printed on the things that they've helped develop in Ireland. So, okay, so this we'll be doing in more detail, but this is a list of the Sustainable Development Goals. And these are goals set out by the United Nations, which is the organization set up after World War II for peace, but also to promote people's rights and give everyone human dignity. So they reckon that the best goals for the world are that people should have no poverty, there should be zero hunger in the world, you should have good health and well-being, individually and as a society. You should have quality education. Each person should have that, and each country should have that. You should have gender equality, equality between men and women. You should have affordable and clean energy. You should have decent work and economic growth. You should have industry, innovation, infrastructure. So good jobs, good inventions, good buildings. And then 10, reduced inequalities. So people should all be treated equally. And then sustainable cities and communities. So communities that are, say, supported in energy by wind or solar would be examples of that. Responsible consumption and production. So in other words, we're reducing, reusing, recycling. And climate action to help climate change. So to get rid of, or at least reduce for now, fossil fuels. And also do the 3 Rs. So number 14, life below water, to protect our fishing industries. We're running out of fish in the world and they need protection. And then life on land, we're also really badly affecting nature and biodiversity. So the world wants to come together to help protect that. Excuse me. So peace, justice, and strong institutions. So they want a good law society like we have here in Ireland, the law society.ie. We have also around the world good law societies. Yeah, sorry, no, we don't always have in all parts of the world. We have in the Western world, in the main. You could argue America, for example, doesn't have a good law society because maybe Donald Trump arguably put his people in place, and therefore it would depend on what side of the fence you come in on. Is he good? Is he bad? Will he employ good people or bad people, etc., etc.? Okay, so partnerships for goals as well. That's saying that we need to work as partners to help the world. Okay, so continue on with development. So different developments have happened in the world. For example, the world has got together to help clean water projects in India and Honduras and places in Africa as well. You've helped make the water clean and drinkable. Healthcare initiatives then in Africa. Government organizations help this work. For example, we've some of the most famous in the world here in Ireland, called NGOs, non-government organizations. So you've got like Goal, which is my favorite one. I give money to them regularly. They're great at setting up enterprises abroad. Yeah, and then Trócaire and Concern are also very good at helping poor people around the world and help developments around the world. Yeah, okay. So just let me check, is there anything else on that? No. Okay, so this is the self-test, and I'm going to help you by explaining the questions to you. And you should be able to do any of them. You should be able to do most of them, and the ones you can't, I'll give you more tips with. The ones I think are easy, I'll give you very little help with. Okay, so explain the term development. So when you're explaining that, remember there's underdevelopment, development, and developing countries as well, which are ones somewhere in the middle between underdeveloped and developed. Okay, so name and explain any 5 developments and events of the last 200 years. Well, you should be able to look back over slides to see that. That's straightforward enough. What is an amenity? Now, we might not cover that, so I might help you with that one. So an amenity is just having things in your locality. For example, if you lived in Rush and you were looking at what are the local amenities. Well, we've got a great community centre, a great library, great GA club. They're the amenities. Yeah. So yeah, list 5 amenities that help to create a sense of community. Well, I've kind of overlapped with that one now. So I named some of the amenities in Rush there. You can pick Fingal if you want to. So explain how the 5 you have chosen to do this. So explain how the 5 you have. Oh yeah, so how they actually do this. So the GA Club, for example, helps to create a sense of community by bringing people together, by helping their health and fitness, by getting people doing voluntary work, which helps them and helps people in the community. So many loads of good benefits with the GA, which I'm biased obviously about because I'm a coach and I love GA, but it is a great organization anyway. And but you also have the community centres and you've also got the youth clubs in Fingal as well to help young people that lose their way a bit. And you've got counsellors, you've got citizens information centres, you've got loads of different options in communities that help create a great sense of community and help the community. So who grants planning permission? So have a think about Fingal County Council and An Bord Pleanála. Why is An Bord Pleanála an important body? Okay, so that's like the planning board. So you'll have a national planning board which looks at the nation and sees what infrastructural projects are going to be put in place, and etc. And you'll have Fingal County Council, which will also give planning permission for different housing developments, etc. So they work together. So name the 4 different types of local authorities found in Ireland. Well, you've got city councils, you've got boroughs, and then you've got county councils. So try and find the 4th one there that we would have in the slides. What are the main services provided by local authorities? Well, think of Fingal County Council, and what services did we say they provide? What does the local councillor do? Again, the county councillors work in Fingal County Council, and they work in the community to help improve the community, find out what's going on, and then find out what they can do to bring into that community to help it prosper and develop. So who makes sure that the work of the local authority is carried out? Well, think of the manager then of Fingal County Council there. What is a development plan? Well, it's the plan, isn't it, to see how your community is going to develop, a step-by-step guide. You could have a SMART plan, for example, specific, measurable, agreeable, realistic, with a time frame on it, and that would be a plan then that you put together to see how we're going to develop, say, Balbriggan to become an even better community. And there's plans there for new big J club in Balbriggan, and there's new housing development plans, and a big investment of 20 million going to be going into the local harbour there. So that's an example of real-time local development going on. Okay, so where was I? Name 2 agencies with responsibility for development in Ireland. Well, that should be easy. And then what's a summit? Again, that's where the heads of government all meet for a meeting. It's basically a meeting at a high-level meeting. List the Millennium Development Goals. We'll be careful with that one because they're now called Sustainable Development Goals. So all you have to do there is, well, it'll take you a while because it's quite long. The list, remember all the pictures of the development goals. Some people call them global goals as well, so don't be confused with the different terms. But the best term to use is Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah. And there's about 17 of them. So yeah, you need to list them. And it'll help you remember them by writing them down. So why is the supply of clean water and good sanitation so important in developing countries? Well, you have to use your cop on for that one. Why would you need water? And good sanitation means that it's healthy, you're not getting germs. Why would that be important? Yeah. And what is a developing country? Remember I said it's not underdeveloped and it's not fully developed, so it's somewhere in the middle. So it's the work to do to get it up to the Western world standards, like Ireland is in the Western world. What is, in fact, we were in some survey I read there by Dan O'Brien of the Sunday Independent, he was saying like we have the 2nd best quality of life in the world at the moment. And I remember I was telling in class, we're in the top 10, I think, in terms of one of the richest countries in the world. And I know it mightn't feel it for some of us, but yeah, there's a lot of wealth in Ireland. Okay, so what is development aid? Well, that's aid from Europe or aid from the World Bank to help push developments in a country. So it might be somewhere in Africa where maybe they want clean water supplies or community centres or some education facilities. Could be anything. Or it could be development aid that was given to Ireland to help develop their roads 20 years ago approximately. So explain the following and ongoing. Explain the following words. Illiteracy, that means you can't read or write. Malnutrition means you don't get the proper nutrition from your food diet wherever you're living, however poor you are. Vaccinations then, well, we should all know what that one is. So give one example of successful development case study. Okay, don't worry about that one. And then name 2 organizations that work in developing countries. Think of the organization I said is my favorite organization and I give money to. And you'll have the answer there. Okay, well, I hope that was helpful. Again, don't be shy about asking questions if there's any confusion, and keep safe. And I'm looking forward to meeting you all when we hopefully get back soon. Okay, Slán, thanks for your attention. Bye-bye.